Welcome, everybody, to our March 4th Outreach and Network meeting. We're getting started a little late, but better late than never, as they say. So, I don't know about y'all, but I need some grounding. um, yeah. So, we start by centering the land because the land was here long before we got here. The land caused us to rise up as beings, and the land will be here long after we are gone. And we center the land because everything that we experience comes from the land and will return to the land. And this is a practice that can help us to decenter our human egos and recenter the land as the web of life that sustains everything. So I invite you to close your eyes or find a soft gaze, whatever is comfortable for you. And we're just gonna keep it simple today. Start to breathe a little bit more deeply in your own pacing. Just take a few deep belly breaths. As we arrive in this space together. Maybe cultivating some gratitude for the air in your space, clean, breathable air. And as you exhale, you might just release anything that's feeling heavy or in the way of your being present today. Just letting some stuff go. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and join us back in our Zoom space. And we'll do a classic check-in question. What is the weather like where you are? Could be external, could be internal, could be both. And the circle as I see it is Austin, Pam, Ben, Roland, and me. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you, Ronnie. The weather, as we've mentioned, is a little smoky outside. It's very, very windy, which I think is reflective of, change of all kinds. And that is even, as destructive change and unwelcome change happens, there's nothing to prevent it. And so I'm reaching inward to find that acceptance today, because that has been a kind of hang up for me recently. So, trying to start fresh, trying to reset and accept those wins as they come. Yeah. And with that, I'll pass to Pam.
Thank you, Austin. Overcast, chilly, and feeling at this point like I typically feel it sort of is like a typical March day. It's odd how when that happens, where it's like, oh, well, this is what March used to feel like, becomes what seems to be the new normal is like, oh yeah, that's right, this is how it used to be. And I guess picking up a thread of what you were saying in terms of um, well, disruptions, I guess, in a sense, uh, the value, importance, etc., of having spaces where there is a possibility of lowering the ambient social temperature and that climate that is not typical on that social level and other levels of um, weather events, etc., is it's just really necessary to have the company of people who are hanging on to their hats and keeping their heads, more or less, hearts, and feeling our way through to maintaining some kind of balance and so on. I think I'm laboring this now. I'm going to pass to the next person, which is Ben.
Well, yeah, I think the weather here feels spring-like. It's a little surprising. We came out of the studio where we were doing this training, and it's very blustery and a little bit of rain, and it kind of was a little. I wasn't prepared for it, and but it's not bad. And I think I'm feeling the internal weather is I'm feeling really buoyed up by the training that we just came out of. And Austin, your comment, I just finished reading The Serviceberry, the Robin Wall Kimmerer book. And it's just a little, short article really. And but she talks in there about disruption as a social tool and how disruption happens in nature, and how when we look at a forest, we think of it as this sort of uniform thing, but actually it's a patchwork of histories of little disruptions, and how those create boundary conditions where the really exciting stuff happens. So um, yeah, I feel like I'm feeling it, my internal weather is very spring-like in terms of there's still the blusteriness and, the storminess, but it feels like there's this potential under just under the surface, just pushing up. Over to you, Roland.
uh, Gray and drizzly outside, and I am setting aside my internal weather of nap time as a way of acknowledging and respecting and showing gratitude for the fact that you have taken time out of your own lives to gather all together here. So over to Ronnie.
Yeah, it's very, very windy and smoky here, and I have a fire watch app that I've watched all day, and slowly but surely fires started popping up all over the state, um, which was predicted. But yeah, it's kind of stressful and scary. And I worked downtown, and all of the tops of the buildings were couldn't see them because it was so smoky. So yeah, I guess I'm feeling that kind of internally too, in that kind of sense of I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, they could all be out by the end of the day. They could spread, who knows? So kind of a wait and see kind of vibe over here. But yeah, thank you everybody for checking in, and I will share my screen for our notes. Can everybody see Asana? Awesome. Thank you for the head nods. So last meeting was a discussion largely around social media and all the different kind of platforms that we're using and relationships with the Meta platforms and how we're in the process of slowly moving off of those platforms and engaging more on Blue Sky and Mastodon. So this is just an ongoing emergent process that we're in. And Pam had also invited someone to review our website as somebody who is more kind of outside the organization, but has a lot of overlapping points of interest. So that happened. I've also been working on, I've pulled a couple of testimonials, like really mini quotes from two people that we could post. And I have sent messages. I'm in conversation with both of them about how much anonymity they want or not. So those are almost done. We've also had um, the onboarding sessions last week. We had 2 of them and they went really well. And we have some action items to work on today from those sessions. I'll get to that in a second. And we've also set up a social roots little network for the Lifeboat Academy. So we have guilds set up on each of those as subgroups that people can join. And I don't know if we haven't sent out an email to everybody about social roots. I think so far it's been the Lifeboat Builder cohort, but we can make sure that everybody involved in some closer capacity has access to that platform, and that will hopefully help us streamline communications in the guild, between guilds, coordination circle, just one place where you can go and kind of see everything that's going on. And also if people don't want as much information, they can get a daily or a weekly digest that kind of goes through everything. So we're hoping that all works out. Are there any other updates that anyone would like to share that I missed? Pam.
I think this would be appropriate to bring up the CHFBC contact. And I have actually experimented with putting stuff in the Asana thing about my task, etc. I found all very official, but I have no idea if it stuck or made any sense or was the right thing to do. I just trying to learn my way around these tools.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we can take a look at that. Okay, so in terms of the schedule or the agenda for today, it's a bit of a list, but there are, I think, some things that should take priority. One is scheduling the Lifeboat Builder support sessions, so navigation sessions and agreement circles, getting that schedule up and running, as well as thinking about guild meetings, if any guild meeting times need to change. We'd also, Ben and Roland and I had briefly talked about going over our weekend/days off protocols in terms of kind of our internal messaging, because we have different days off. And then there's also the ongoing social media discussion. And then there's also Pam's CH CHFBC contact, which I don't know if we need to discuss that in this meeting necessarily, but we can. So these are proposed topics. So let's do a round of considerations. Is there anything else you'd like to add? And what would you like to start with first? Over to, I think Austin was the start of this circle.
Yeah, nothing to add. Pass to Pam.
Nothing to add.
Sorry, trying to find my mute. Unmute. I don't think I have anything to add. And I feel like the scheduling, I'm curious about how many people have filled out the meeting poll. And the scheduling feels mostly like a mechanical thing, maybe something that could get tasked out to somebody to look at. So I don't know how much we need to discuss that because it really is kind of data driven. And I am curious, I'm always curious to talk about like the CHFBC contact as a template, you know, sort of like as a case study to talk broadly about relationship building and yeah, how looking at how we do one thing, one of our sayings is how we do anything is how we do everything. So, you know, in that context. And it is a lot to get through, so I kind of feel like I don't really have a strong sense of what the priority should be, but let's get to it and just see what we can get through. Over to Roland.
Yeah, I have nothing to add, and I'm probably the first, if anyway, if I can say where I think we should start is at least talking through the scheduling to see if we have anything to talk about, or if it's something that can be delegated to someone. So what are things that we'd want to, anyway, yes, that. So over to Ronnie.
Yeah, we have had moments before where we schedule as a group and it actually went really fast. I guess my concern with delegating it to someone is ending up sending a bunch of messages back and forth about, well, this won't work and this will work, and then it gets weedy. But Ben, could you pull up the when to meet? Do you have that link? So we could at least take a look at it and see if anything stands out. I think scheduling the lifeboat builder sessions is more straightforward. Whereas in terms of guild meetings, I'm not sure if we have enough information to know if we need to move those meetings, like depending on other people who are in guilds who aren't here. So that kind of seems like maybe a lengthier process, but I want to at least look at the when to meet and see if we can get the support sessions going sooner rather than later.
Well, and I do have that up, so I can share it.
Okay, let me.
I guess part of the question is, what are we talking about scheduling? Because there's a lot of things that could get scheduled. So I'm breaking circle, but that's I can share the when to meet.
Okay.
And I think this is my big concern is we have 6 people who filled it out. And we have more people than that who are interested in have expressed interest in things.
Well, at a certain point, you snooze, you lose. So if you don't come to things that you're invited to and you don't fill out forms you're invited to fill out, sorry, like, we can't please everybody all the time. So Uh,
Are we still in circle?
sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what do we do next? Um,
Where are we at in circle?
I don't know. I guess Austin, you're next.
What's the prompt?
Do we want to try scheduling these two different kinds of sessions now and get it done? Or do we want to delegate it to someone to do some other time?
And what are the two sessions we're talking about?
Navigation sessions and agreement circles.
Okay.
Over to Austin.
I don't know. My just speaking for myself, my availability is just kind of wide open. So you know, I'm taking this time with you all to kind of get caught up and sort of recommit myself to our collective goals. And and as of right now, I don't have any specific commitments other than I need to pick up my daughter at the end of the day, and of course drop her off at school. But you know, that's before anyone's awake. um, so yeah, I'm here to kind of go with the group consensus, whatever we decide as a group. I don't have any specific input at the moment. So with that, I'll pass Pam.
My apologies. I completely forgot. I had the tab open on with the excuses. I was overwhelmed trying to work my calendar and look at the spots, and I kept deferring, procrastinating, and then I lost track. And I do apologize, because I appreciate the work that goes into something like this, and how much simpler it would be if people do just respond. Even still, looking at this and thinking, I've not been having a happy time looking at my calendar. And I thought March would be different. And before I knew it, March was not different. So I'm in a tread water thing with this, which is not to anybody's benefit, actually, but there you go. I'm sorry about that. So yes, I would fit myself into whatever is available, given that I have not been able to sort my head around the task of comparing calendars. So that's then you, Ben.
And one thing I think we should adopt from the Roman Catholic Church is the idea of being able to give absolution. So I absolve you, Pam, and I too have major scheduling challenges, and I think that's just, you know, that's the state of the world right now for most people, for most of us. I am looking at the Miro board as well, and looking at the list of people. I'm going to volunteer, actually. I'm going to volunteer to look for, because we've got a list of people who are interested in the navigation sessions, which we've also talked about as being synonymous with the mentoring. So we've got interest in both the navigation and the mentoring sessions. So that's a clear list. I can go through and look when are the times that most people are available for that. And likewise for the agreement circles. And because I think it really is just trying to figure out what the best time or two is based on knowledge. And then maybe, I guess that's kind of the question is process question. Do we want to pick one time based on the information and just go with it and hope that that works? Or an alternative is we could pick 2 times or 3 times, maybe just 2 times, not to have them in those different times, but basically to give people a final, if you had to choose between this time and this time, which would you choose? So do we want to give people any choice in the matter? Or do we want to just pick some times and hope that they work out as good as possible? So, but in terms of what I can do is I can pick the best 2 or 1 or 2 times based on who's signed up and the information that's in the when to meet. So over to you, Roland.
Well, I'm still really like the BCCRN system for reminding people about the survey. So BCCRN survey is something that Ben works on every year. And so with that in mind, for people who've indicated for specific sessions what they're interested in, I would suggest sending them another reminder, but specific to that session, and giving them a choice as sort of like the final round for timing. And then making the assumption that it's not necessarily that people are snoozing, but rather that they're okay with whatever time we pick. So that's what I'm thinking. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I hesitate to offer choices because we've already asked people to fill out a scheduling survey. So I don't know, for some reason, I'm feeling urgency around getting these scheduled and going. I think just because I know from past experience, it's easy for this to get overwhelming and confusing. But I will try to temper that sense of urgency and just try and help it move along as much as possible. Yeah, I like your idea, Ben, about just kind of cross-referencing the information we have and see. I think it was good last semester when we offered 2 different times for each kind of session. So it was like basically and especially thinking about Nadia, who needs morning times because she's in Portugal. So having a morning time for each one and then an afternoon time for each one, afternoon/evening. And Ben, if you want any help with that, I'd be happy to also, like, we could get on a call and kind of talk it out too. That would be helpful. Yeah, so I guess that's an action plan. On that, are there any other last thoughts around scheduling these 2 kinds of sessions specifically? Over to you, Austin. Let's just go around the circle real quick.
Yeah, nothing more for me. For you, Pam.
Okay. So much for literacy. I just noticed that it's for very specific days, not for the full week, throughout the month.
Well,
it's for a general week. I'm sorry we didn't clarify that. Yeah, it says March 2nd to whatever, but just do it as like generally any given week, when are you available?
Okay, I'll revisit it then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, carry on, Ben.
So I just want to be clear on what we think the action plan is, because I want to factor in. So for Roland, for people that have expressed an interest but not yet filled out their meeting poll, a specific email that says, we're about to schedule these sessions. Please fill out your availability or we'll assume any time works for you. And then give people a very limited time. I too feel a sense of urgency. I feel like this is the kind of thing that just lingers, you know, like a bad cold. And so I can send out, I'll try to do that yet this afternoon and send that out. And then how long do we want to give people? So today is Tuesday. Do we want to give till Thursday and then we pick the times? Does that sound, anyhow, so those are some of the questions. So I think I understand it's cross-referencing who has expressed interest but not filled out the meeting poll. And for those folks, a specific reminder. And then and if we don't hear from you, we're just going to go ahead and schedule them. And then just pick. And then I've got one more question, because we talked about the navigation sessions being about twice a month and the agreement circles being about twice a month, which would mean there's going to be there would be a total of 4 navigation and or agreement circles, one every week. There would be one session every week. And for the 2 times, do we want to have the first one be like the first navigation session? If we think navigation sessions happen on week 1 and week 3, and agreement circles happen on week 2 and week 4, and then week 1 is an AM and week 3 is a PM, kind of like that, and then people can be choosing. So we still only have 2 and 2, and we just have 4 times. Okay, I'm seeing people nod. So okay, that's all doable. Over to you, Roland.
Yeah, I apologize. I was still in consideration mode, and I was thinking along the same lines, Ben, of not giving an exhaustive amount of time or an open-ended. I think that's one of the things that we do. We leave this open-ended. It was like, please do this for us, but rather saying, you know, the poll closes at this time, or however it is that you want to say it. And I think Thursday is perfectly reasonable, you know, well, that people have 2 full days to be able to answer. So if it goes out today, then Thursday makes sense. If it goes out tomorrow, then Friday makes sense. So over to Ronnie.
That sounds good. And as a follow-up procedural question, do we want to try and get the schedule out? Like, if we hear back by Thursday, get it out Friday? Or do we want to wait till the coordination circle and kind of have everybody sign off on it and then send it out? Over to Austin.
I'm not sure what to contribute exactly, except that when y'all were talking, I was reminded of something that you all always remind me of, which is that we have to aim, then act, and reflect. And so, like, if we, do this now, then we can revisit what's not working in the coming weeks. It's not a big deal. So that's my little 2 cents. Past you, Pam.
Sounds good to me as well, Austin. Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Austin, for the reminder. The circle works. Yay. Yeah, this sounds good. And I kind of feel like, if the difference is between sending something out Friday or sending something out Monday, and, we can confirm, let's send it out Monday. So yeah, let's aim for, and that gives us kind of a nice target. We can try to finalize, and actually I think we can send out, or I'm going to make a friendly amendment that we also encourage each of the caretakers of the guilds to look at who's interested and look at their availability and decide whether or not to reschedule. And then we can send out a, one email that says, here are the new guild times and here are the new meeting times, if possible. So over to you, Roland.
Okay, I'm on the trolley now. So, because I was wondering why to run it by the coordination circle, but it's not, we're not talking about the scheduling just for the navigation and the, it's for the guild meetings and everything. Got it. Okay. Well, actually, that's kind of an interesting procedural question. I think that for something like that, it would be first to send it as an email, and then with and if any of the caretakers want to talk more about it, then we would schedule on the agenda for the coordination meeting. But otherwise, if all of the coordinators say give it the thumbs up just via an email, then it's ASAP. Or that's that. Yeah, it's giving the opportunity if there's any considerations or any objections to be able to talk about it at the coordination meeting. But to be able to give that option, it would be sending out an email to see if there is anything that comes up. So over to Ronnie.
Yeah, that all sounds good. Okay, so just to recap, Ben is going to look at the when to meet and the proposed framework for the lifeboat support sessions, and we'll cross-reference and identify which times seem to work best. And he will tap me if he needs help and support with that. And then each guild caretaker is going to reach out to their members to check in about the meeting time. How's it working? Does it need to change? And then we will all report back at the coordination circle on Monday and hopefully finalize these two schedules. Oh, additionally, Ben is going to send out reminders to people who've indicated interest but haven't yet filled out the scheduling poll. Okay.
So just a friendly amendment is the guild caretakers don't need to contact people because I will do that as part of the reminder. So if somebody's interested in a guild, but we don't have their when to meet poll,
okay,
then I will send out a email to them specifically saying, we're hoping to reschedule the Heartwork meeting. You've expressed an interest. Please fill out the when to meet poll. And then the caretakers can just look at the when to meet poll and see the times.
okay. I'm just thinking about people who attend guild meetings like Heather and Becca who may not have filled it out. That's all.
Right. Becca has, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Becca is on the lifeboat builder list. Anyhow, that might be a special case. I think all the other guilds, all the other people have been invited to fill out the when to meet poll.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you everybody for hanging in for that portion of the meeting. Ben, do you mind stopping your screen share and then I will share the notes again? I'd forgotten in going over the agenda at the beginning to talk about newsletter content, which is really just what are the schedules for the next few weeks. So we can confirm that if people are okay with, does anybody have an objection to us waiting to send a newsletter out until early next week? Okay, awesome. And Ben and Roland already let me know which piece of writing to put in, so I think we'll be set on the newsletter. What do we want to talk about next? There's the days off protocol, the social media discussion, and the CHFBC contact. Does anybody have a burning priority? Over to you, Austin.
I don't have a burning priority. I will say though that there were certain commitments that I had made in the past that I dropped the ball on, and I want to recommit to those with regards to the social media stuff. So this is kind of just my ask that that I be given the same absolution and forgiveness for my transgressions, so that we can all move forward and start working on this together. So yeah, with regards to the social media stuff, you know, just consider me on board and ready to put in the work. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything. So I'll pass to Pam.
I guess just an update. Because this is the Outreach Guild, I was for some reason thinking that this was the place to put something like the CHFBC topic. And if it's better placed elsewhere or behind the scenes, then just let me know. It doesn't have to be on this agenda, but it is something that I definitely would like to update the group with. Ben?
I think it makes sense to me that this is the place for that. Well, I guess it could also be research depending, but I feel like this is talking about how do we develop a relationship, and that's outreach. So it feels, and actually I think that would be my vote for the next thing to talk about, would be talking that through. Yeah. Over to Roland.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the CHFBC thing. So just out of complete selfishness, I would like to talk about that one next. Over to Ron.
Awesome, let's do it. Pam, I will give you the floor to speak your piece on CHFBC.
Okay, God, I feel the heat. I went to a CHFBC, the Co-op Housing Federation of British Columbia. They had an education day on Saturday, which I attended. And so I had an in-person conversation with the education guy in CHFBC, whose name is Ed. And I was just about to look up, sorry, I should have been prepared, with Ed, where do I find Ed? Anyway, I'll do that later. So I had a conversation with him about the Lifeboat Academy and the possibility of working with you guys, because one of the things that is doable is for outside groups or individuals to put on workshops. And so I think Ben and I have had a conversation or two about trying to see how that could possibly work. And Ed, his little eyes did light up. You know, like people are grokking the metaphor irregularly, but when it happens, the little light goes on, right? By the way, lights off in the co-op so far. Like everybody who looked at, and I asked the entire committee to look at the web page. One person was overwhelmed and not ready to look at anything outside of what she already has to do, and the other two people didn't quite get the metaphor. Thought, well, I see boats, you know. And the other one, like, so there is something that I need to do in terms of knowing how to pitch it, but the website isn't a place that I could direct these people. It just didn't work for them. Anyway, with Ed, because he's interested in actually having a conversation with someone, I'm just happy to facilitate the next step. And so for him, it takes the form of an email to both of you, arranging a time. He's got the heads up about what this is and generally kind of what happens as far as your social technology tools, your complexity. I went to the very first workshop that had a systems lens on the subject. The first time. So CHFBC is starting to move out of its rigid sorts of boundaries and be more open to other ways of thinking about how it is you do things, how it is change happens, etc. So that's enough for me, I think, for anyone to have a question about that I could then clarify as needed.
Do you want to just keep the circle from there, or do you want to start? Okay. Yay! I want to go next. Well, it's interesting. A couple different things are coming up for me. One was, and it's kind of unrelated and related. I'm thinking in terms of the social roots three circles differentiates they call it the 1%, 9%, and 90% of a movement. And the 1% are like the ringleaders, and the 9% are the core volunteers, and the 90% are the people that kind of hover on the fringes. And the organization that Roland talked about, BCCRN, is BC Community Response Networks. They have this model where each of the community response networks is unique to its local community. It actually develops in response to the local needs of the community, and there's a coordinator, and the coordinators have mentors. And so any one mentor might have 5 to 10 coordinators working on their local projects. And in terms of how we're working, I'm thinking about your comment about how your committee folks were looking at the Lifeboat website. And I was thinking the Lifeboat website, if we think about lifeboat builders as coordinators, not so if we think about a local lifeboat as the equivalent of a CRN, and then the lifeboat builder is the coordinator, and then the Lifeboat Academy is the mentors, where we come together to talk about this stuff. What we put forward to the potential members of the lifeboat, your committee folks, is different than what we put forward to the lifeboat builders. And I think our website is designed for lifeboat builders, not for the people lifeboat builders want to talk to. So that makes me think that we probably also want to be thoughtful about if there is a second level of website or materials or something like that. It's really designed for how do you start that conversation with people who are not lifeboat builders, but are still interested in resilience or whatever. So all of that I think is related to the CHFBC in that we're going to be talking not to lifeboat builders probably, right? So it becomes a little bit of an interesting experiment to run in terms of what's the messaging that makes sense to not the lifeboat builders, but the people who might be interested in the lifeboat. So I would love to be part of that conversation. And my big question would be, what would be useful for CHFBC? And we can kind of say, here are, and I like, Pam, that you're using that language of the social tools. I've been thinking a lot about, like, we have a tools library, and we have some tools in the library. Which ones are they interested in hearing about? And that would be, I think, really good information for us to have. So whether they're interested or not, I feel like the process of pitching something, hearing what they're interested in, and seeing what resonates and what doesn't would be really useful. Over to you, Roland.
Agreed. The next step would be to meet with this Ed guy. And yeah, and I think that actually I think it's great that the co-op board, that those are the two members who had a look at the page and gave that feedback. I think that's super useful. And I really like the conversation around, well, for whom is the website useful as it stands? And with this new information, what can we do? What can we look at to because I think it would, and maybe part of the problem has been trying to find concise language to really be able to talk about what the Lifeboat Academy is up to. That and I think we're at least getting there, if we aren't there now, to be able to talk to people who are just coming cold to the whole idea. So I think there's a synchronicity that's happening. So over to Ronnie.
We have stuff written down. Back, I guess it was like 2 years ago, we made all those different graphics for different audiences, and one of them was like for organizations, communities, small business, like things like that, talking about kind of a package of the tools that we offer. So I'm curious what we might have already put together in our documents somewhere around maybe some framing around this that could help. But yeah, it does seem like having everybody just kind of getting in the room together and seeing where the mutual benefit might be is a really, really good idea before we kind of make too many assumptions, I guess. But yeah, this is exciting, and yeah, that's what I got. Over to Austin.
I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what's happening right now. It sounds like there's some organizations outside of this one that it would be to our benefit to be in communication with and coordinating with for our own mutual benefit, which is really cool because I'm seeing a lot of organizations that seem to have a similar directive, or like, just people are all kind of, well, not all, many people are thinking along these same lines. And so for me, it's kind of begging this question of how can we communicate with these established organizations, and because as I understood it when Ronnie introduced me to the lifeboat concept, there was a kind of intention of being a network, a sort of bridge between all of these similar ideas. And but with the caveat that when we meet as you know, a group under the umbrella of Lifeboat, that we abide by our social technologies, as you referred to, which I really love that term. So yeah, I'll just kind of, you know, follow y'all's lead on that, and see kind of what all comes of this. But that's really exciting. So I'll pass to Pam.
Well, the spirit of experimentation. I guess one thing that has been clear with just this specific co-op goes, that experiment didn't really get off the ground. And it speaks to a kind of conservatism and so on. But I'm thinking that because even though it's a co-op, and you would think then that there would be kind of a lateral receptivity, you know, to things that are adjacent to it rather than on top, etc. I think that there's probably more receptivity to something that comes in from the top. So if it comes in through the umbrella organization as, for example, one possibility being a course that is offered during one of their island education programs, which the next one is going to be in, I think, September. I think you get something like $350 for putting on a presentation. And I think it's fairly low-hanging fruit as far as they could do with some fresh ideas and different people coming in, and it is open. They are open to that. They're open to what can happen here. That said, you know, it's a lot of work preparing for something like that and coming over and spending a day doing something, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. It might be because things aren't going to get better anytime soon in the sense of the external circumstances, but they can get better in terms of how people build our capacity, how we build our capacities to organize, respond, relate, et cetera, et cetera. So grow that one while the other one is going down. Ben?
Yeah, I think, and part of, I think, my learning in having done this for a long time is a couple things in terms of the challenge has always been that this is, I'm going to use social science language, this is a continuous variable, not a binary variable. You know, it's not like people are ready or not ready. It's not like they get it or they don't get it. There is a process of exposure. And I think this is the other reason why we really lean into the experiential learning part of it. That, and the one of my complaints about sociocracy for all as a form of sociocracy as opposed to sociocracy 3.0, sociocracy for all basically says you need everyone to buy into sociocracy and then you need to do it completely. And you need to get your organization to choose to be sociocratic. And of course, very few organizations are going to have, you know, unanimous consensus to try something that different out of the gate. And so I feel like part of the strategy is the trickster principle, like where we don't, and one of the things in Sociocracy 3.0, they talk about you can start implementing sociocracy without ever mentioning the word because it's the social technologies, right? It's just like, well, let's go around the circle and give everyone a chance to say what you're thinking about. You don't have to like frame it as some sort of big deal. It's just a way of organizing a meeting or having a conversation. And I think that's where the potential is in being able to sort of introduce some of these tools in a way that's really light and breezy. And then when people are interested in it, then to say, hey, if you want to know more, if you want to do more of this, here's how you can start to add a couple different tools together. So part of our being strategic is thinking about how do we offer the tools in a way that is an easy, low risk, no big deal, first taste is free approach. And then, and I think that's also being clear in terms of we have sort of two ways of messaging. So the people who are on board with, we need a different way of organizing. We need to do something differently here. This is part of the poly crisis, etc. We have one set of language for them. And then for the other people who are, I'm just frustrated and I don't know what to do. We have another, kind of messaging for them. And I think anyhow, in terms of Pam brings up a good point, but I think we've got it covered, which is we don't want to go inventing new things to match CHFBC. We've got a kit. We can offer any of the elements of the kit, and we can, you can tweak it to sort of make it more appropriate for co-ops. But but we don't have to reinvent anything. So it's kind of like, here's our offering. Are you interested in the offering? Yes or no? If so, we go do it. But we're not like retooling everything for them unless well, and I guess that's the other thing too, is that this is also part of the relational development of let's see what we can offer that's a low barrier to entry for a relationship with CHFBC. And if they're interested in it, then we can always expand what we're doing and we can talk about different ways that partnership could work. But, keep it light, keep it's a first date, not a wedding. So, plan accordingly. Apparently don't bring flowers on a first date. It's one of my key lessons. Over to Roland.
I'm never going to live that down, am I? And I'm going to echo Austin with aim, act, reflect, and how this is aim, act, reflect is there's a fractal element to it, or macro, micro, macro, and and so I think that there's an element of it that introduces itself every time there's a new opportunity that comes up. So we have our tools as they are, and then the tools, then it's handling the tools so that it makes sense for whoever you're talking to. So it's not rewriting anything, but I'm just sort of reiterating what you're saying, Ben, and bringing in that it's actually an exercise of applying the aim, act, reflect principle. Over to Ronnie.
Good stuff. I like this. This is good. And I'm glad we wrote it down. So Pam will reach out to the aforementioned parties to do an intro email and find a meeting time. And we'll go from there. Is that
what I was speaking to Ed about was writing an email to both, should it be you, Ben, and Ed, introducing you in the email. And if you felt that it could be useful for me to be part of a conversation, I'm happy to be there, or any way that I can be of help, let me know. But you guys can follow your own leads according to, so I can do that before the end of the week if you'd like. Okay.
great? Okay. Shall we move on? Okay. Do we want to quickly just touch on the weekend protocols? I don't know if that will necessarily be a long discussion. Basically, my understanding of your bringing it up, Roland, is I have my official day off, as in no worky communications on Saturdays, and Ben and Roland have theirs on Sundays. So if there are things we need to coordinate, this often comes up with the newsletter because I will usually try and get it out on Monday. How do we want to what are the protocols in terms of respecting each other's days off and in regards to communications? Is there anything else either of you want to add, Ben or Roland? Okay.
Well, and I want to jump circle because I think I might be able to sort of short circuit this in a good way. I think that part of the challenge is my proposal, and I'll work back from it, is why don't we target Tuesday for the email, for the newsletter?
Okay.
And then that, because I think part of the challenge is, and this is how we set it up, you're doing what we agreed to. I think this is part of the AMAC reflective. By trying to have it exactly go out on a Monday, then that just means that there's all that prep work on the weekend. So anyhow, that would be, I think that the protocols are, it's not so much about the protocols as about just scheduling deadlines in a way that makes sense based on the days that we're trying to not work.
Okay.
So anyhow, I don't know, Roland, if there's something else you wanted to add though, Roland?
No, if it going out on Tuesday works, I think that's a great solution. Yeah, I also try to have one day a week where I'm not dealing with Lifeboat Academy stuff. And that's Sunday. So if we have the newsletter going out on Tuesday, then that should give us time to be able to figure things out, I think.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, great. We good with that? Okay, sweet. Nice. That took like 2 minutes. We're pretty much at the end of our meeting time. Is there anything we need to talk about in regards to social media today, or do we want to wait and continue that another time? Yeah, I'll just go around the circle. Over to you, Austin.
We don't need to talk about it today. But I I used an AI fucking machine to help me like make a schedule for myself that I can stick to. And I found that extremely useful. And so yeah, it's my goal to make some short form content every day that I can send to you, and and we can talk about what you guys want to include in that, and the kind of I guess messaging. But I think I got a pretty good idea of what it is that we want to put out there. But yeah, so that's something that I'm committed to sticking to, this routine. And yeah, that's all I have for the moment. So I'll pass to Kim.
No, I'm ready to get out of my chair. The only thing is that you mentioned AI, and I'm not sure how many people are familiar with what Vanessa Andreotti and the Gesturing Towards Decolonial Futures Collective is doing with relational AI, but it's um, a very interesting experiment, and it plays every key on your piano. And I'm just putting it in the chat if you want to look at Burnout from Humans. And it's part of the conversation that seems to be happening these days. So on to Ben.
Thank you for that. I've got the tab open. That's halfway there, right? Um, uh, that's very cool. Yeah, I feel like in terms of an update, I'm meeting with Anna and Christina from Social Roots tomorrow, and along with April. So she's going to be joining us. And I feel like that kind of factors in a little bit to some of this social media, the ongoing social media conversation. So I don't feel like there's any urgency around the conversation. I think it's I'll have something, hopefully I'll have something more interesting to contribute the next time we talk about it. Over to you, Roland.
Yeah, there's no urgency for me either to talk about it. Just a bug in the ear about, you know, I think we're agreed on moving away from meta and timing and how to let people know that that kind of thing is, what do we need to do to prepare for a new platform? Are there the Lifeboat Builder page, where does that go, and how to manage it from this point forward, that kind of thing. All future, all future stuff. There, I don't feel any huge urgency. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, me too. The only thing I want to say to you, Austin, about the content creation is we don't need videos going out every day. That's a lot of work. So like please pace yourself. Like if you're doing videos, like a video a week to start would be awesome. But like we're not I don't personally feel like we're trying to like heavy hit on social media. But more engaging content is good. So please don't pile a bunch on your plate that on our end I wouldn't say is super necessary at this point. I'd rather us have consistency over time, try things out, see how they land engagement wise. And just briefly, the outreach theme plan this year is storytelling. So one of the things we're doing is we're starting to pull testimonials from, every circle we have a takeaways round. What are you taking away? What's standing out to you? So we're starting to pull little snippets from people from those videos that we have on YouTube to post as little text testimonials, like a little Instagram graphic with a quote, and then possibly little video snippets as well. So one thing you could do if you felt like it is going back through some of our videos on YouTube, and I'm also in the process of doing this, and going through that last round and seeing if there's any testimonials that stand out to you. And then those are things that we can start getting out more regularly, more often. And we have a document that where I'm compiling those testimonials. So I'll send that to you, make sure that you have it. But yeah, that would be super helpful to have your help in that process as well. And I'm happy to talk to you more one-on-one about that stuff too, as needed. So, but yeah, thank you for doing that. Cool. So we talked through everything on our agenda today, which is really impressive. So let's do last thoughts for the good of the cause round. Any lingering things, any takeaways, etc. Over to you, Austin.
yeah, I really, of course, appreciate all of you and the time that you take to do this. This is always a reminder to myself not to retreat inward. I have a habit of doing that. I don't know. It's, I think, a self-preservation reflex of some kind, but it never really pays off. Being here with you has always been the most healing part of my week. And so thank you for all of your time. And I feel a great urge, a great desire to pay it forward, and return that energy back to you. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of start fresh. Pass to you, Pam.
Wow, what a great testimonial. And I'm so glad you're here, Austin. Really nice to meet you. And it's one of those delightful surprises that happen in this space. Yeah, no, I just really appreciate the inclusiveness and the open-mindedness and flexibility and tolerance, and all within the context of, you know, some very important, urgent stuff, and the need to, you know, really get in there. And anyway, I'm just really glad you guys are here. And
Yeah, I think Austin, that was a great testimonial. And I wanted to jump circle after what Ronnie said to say, you know, what we're trying to capture is those aha moments of like, and it's the irony. I mean, that we talk about cosmic irony, and you know, we all have those habits where it's like I feel overwhelmed, and so I do this, but actually that doesn't help. And this feels awkward, or you know, like I have to push myself to show up, and then when I do, it's returned, and you know, the energy comes back with a boost. And that's the stuff that's so hard to communicate, right? You know, that there's this ironic twist. It's not what you think. And just getting more people to tell more of and it's the little things. I think that's the other part. It's often these little things consistently over time that make the difference. And how do we communicate that well and effectively? So yeah, this has been, as always, I love being in circle with you all. So over to you, Roland.
Well, three things. First of all, hooray for testimonials, and they keep on coming. Second is celebrating noting, you know, noting what's not working, and then moving, and then AMAC reflecting it, you know, what's next, and that is awesome. And the third one is that at the beginning of the meeting, I put my nap brain aside, and now I'm really grateful for the opportunity to put it back into my head. So over to Ronnie.
That is quite a skill. I would appreciate a skill share around that at some point, because it's hard for me to to do that. Yeah, this was a great meeting, and I'm really impressed at how much we got done, and really excited about all the things happening, and mostly excited and happy that we have a process that works and it continues to work. And even when there's so many different balls and plates and who knows what in the air, we managed to hang on and figure it out and not let too many things break. So I'm grateful for that. All right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for an awesome meeting, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Nicely held, Ronnie. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.